From the Nightingale. At night the grass between the two neighbours was a long stretch, bluish in the dewy wet that sometimes came in after a string of hot days. And there was a sound, persistent beneath the still more persistent sea. It was of a bird, but no song, just a call, repeated over and over, regular as a heartbeat, Jules would once have said. But older now, she described it as mechanical, irritating and regular as a car alarm. "Don't you hear it?" she asked, but Jules's husband, ensconced in the king-size bed, wrapped like a corpse in the purple bedsheet, did not. "Come back to bed," he said groggily. "Come back to bed." And Jules did, for a little, listening to the bird, or was it a frog, and the sound of her husband's breath, in and out, until she couldn't remain motionless anymore and crept once again to the window. She looked for it those first few times, feeling exposed in her negligee and flip-flops, the new mown grass sticking with the damp to her feet in the back garden. There was the lawn there, the new hedge of magnolias, and there again was the sound of the bird. She thought perhaps that it was a frog, stuck in the water tank by the bathroom or in the pipes, its voice amplified as if by a megaphone. But then she heard it again, at some distance, softer. She made her way further into the backyard, creeping over the concrete path to the hill's hoist, carefully avoiding Danny's plastic trucks parked in a circle of small white pebbles. The black line of the sea became visible above the back fence's pickets as Jules's eyes adjusted to the dark. Above, a scatter of stars shone yellow through the leaves from a remnant gum and the light pollution from the city. She shut her eyes. When the smoke came, it was as sudden as the bird. One moment she smelt the ozone drifting in from the ocean, the next the cigarette, so it became difficult to tell where one thing began and the other ended. There was a man she saw in next door's back garden. He was reasonably but not extraordinarily tall, his hips, torso and head silhouetted against the sky and sea. Topless, chopped almost in half by the picket fence between the two houses, he was standing awkwardly on something Jules could not see. As she watched, he turned to look out across the shaggy, weed-infested piece of land between the back gardens and the beach and took another drag on the cigarette. When Jules was a teen, she'd smoked heavily, sitting in the long grass behind the school where the soil dropped away steeply to the bush. Old eucalyptus had been cut down to make way for the sports oval, and their trunks had been bulldozed together into a heap she liked to sit at the top of. The bark on the trunks had turned a dry, ashen grey or fallen off altogether, leaving the smooth, dull wood beneath. Ants ferried things up and down their length, and new saplings hid her. Everything there was warm, papery and peaceful, a giant nest sunk in perpetual sunlight. She had liked herself there, she remembered now, liked how she'd perched on a dead tree trunk, her school uniform hitched around her hips to show off her legs. She had liked herself because she had felt something somewhere between being small and warm and safe and its opposite, exposed as a loose live wire, half naked, free. On her way back to the house, she took care to cross the gravel path beneath the bedroom window in silence. Balancing on the sharp pieces of quartz, she felt through the rubber of her shoe soles. The Nightingale.